Greetings, parents. My name is Derrick Brown. I'd like to welcome you to my digital classroom where I serve our students at the Marietta Performance Learning Center, which is a program of Marietta High School housed at its Woods Wilkins campus. And of course, we're being hosted online now via Zoom. I teach students classes that range from Foundations of Algebra, which is a ninth grade class, to Pre-Calculus A, which is a 12th grade class. I'm teaching 13 different classes, 13 different math classes this semester. And we do so on a digital platform called Edgenuity, which houses instructional videos and all assessments that the students will participate in. And I serve as the facilitator because to teach each of those 16 classes would be quite an undertaking. So I have digital instructors from Edgenuity help me with some of the day-to-day content, which allows me to function as a coach, because my approach to teaching is that I teach students, not subjects. And in teaching students, I have a particular focus on providing a nurturing, encouraging environment that also helps to sharpen their problem-solving skills. I'm a little older than my students, but I have a lot of experience in this world, and I'm pretty young at heart. So that allows me to take the experiences that I've had out there and to bring them to my students, and to bring them to my students with context that they find relevant and easy enough to understand. Now, there are times I want to challenge them, but for the most part, I'm trying to introduce them to the world that they live in as I have seen and lived it in ways that they can relate to. Now, since you're in my classroom, I'm going to do what I normally do with my students. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you something. I begin each class by showing my students something, and today I'm going to show you the presentation that I have put together for our open house. So I'm going to hang out down here in this corner, if it's all right with you, and just talk through these slides very quickly, and then allow you to get on with the rest of your program. What you see presented here is my contact information, my Marietta email address, my classroom, which is currently powered by Zoom, both of which allow you to get direct access to me. And then I have a teacher cell phone that is hosted by Google Voice. These three modes of communication allow me to do a lot of my interacting via computer. It's much easier for me to respond to text messages from students if I can do it on the computer. It's easier for me to send them files and such. It's easier to do all of that while I'm having my Zoom meetings. And then email, as old-fashioned as email might be, it is still a very powerful way to communicate. Either of these three methods are great ways to get in touch with me, and I encourage and welcome communication of all forms from parents. Now, our daily schedule is, during our digital learning period, we operate with 4 blocks. My A day, and my B day are the same. Our classes meet for 55 minutes, and then we switch over and meet our next Zoom class. That's all pretty straightforward. Now again, that Zoom classroom is accessible via this link. I encourage you to come check us out and let us know if you'd like to come by and be part of an actual class. I'm sure your students will be very glad to know that mom and dad pop in on classes. Here's the Edgenuity platform where students can log in and receive their assignments. Hopefully they've all gotten their logins and passwords and they've made good starts at their courses. And as I look at grades online, we're moving at a pretty good pace given all of our challenges with being at home and whatnot. We're just trying to work through that as best we can to keep the learning going. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about the approach that I take to these students that I teach over these subjects that I also teach. I have a job with students, and that job is to help them to become proficient and efficient. I'm to impart skills, and I'm to impart to them a productive way to utilize those skills to get useful things done. And the way I make those skills happen and refine those skills is through three items: seeing, being able to visualize; saying, being able to speak; and showing, being able to demonstrate, particularly demonstrate something that they have just learned. Now I do that in the beginning of every class. I take about 10 to 15 minutes and we engage in some type of problem-solving dialogue. Now that problem-solving dialogue is pulled from today's headlines. It's pulled from my recent and remote experiences. I find any item where problem solving, and in particular problem solving using numbers, can be imparted, and then we have a good old time discussing that. One example that I have recently used is called My Grades. I show them a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet that computes a grade average over 4 tests to determine, well, what test grade do I need to make on test number 4 if I want to finish with a 90 average. This is how I introduce students to writing formulas in Microsoft Excel, which will be the first experience a lot of them have with coding. If you look at this formula that my cursor points to here, that's a formula. That is the beginning of writing code, which is a lucrative career option for many of our students. But if you can introduce it to them in something like Microsoft Excel, that is an everyday tool that's probably sitting on their computer, that lets them see and dream what they can achieve and become. Another problem-solving context that I like to use is Scrabble. A lot of people think of Scrabble as a word game, and perhaps an esoteric word game. Esoteric is a 8-letter word. Can't use that as a 7-letter word, but I digress. So anyway, I use Scrabble as an example to them of the ultimate combination of words and numbers, math. You score, and you score well in Scrabble, not when you make 12-letter words, but when you make a 5-letter word and you play it in the right place on the board. So I'm a tournament level Scrabble player, so I've got screenshots from a lot of games that I've played over the years, and those screenshots represent certain situations. The situation you see on the screen right now is the beginning of a game where I have a 7-letter word buried in this jumble of letters, and I show them how I rearrange the tiles in permutations and combinations. Those are math words, but they refer to the arrangement of the letters and the order of that arrangement. You have to quickly permute and combine to find that 7-letter word, play it, and then launch an offensive against your opponent that results in victory. I'm a coach, y'all. I can't help it. But anyway, Scrabble is another learning context that I use. Here's another one that I've been using a lot in this digital learning age. That's a model of a house. It happens to be a model of my house and the internet coverage that I get from the router that is sitting behind me in my office on the floor, and how that coverage is represented as a circle or a sphere. If you're thinking in 3 dimensions, this is like a big ball sitting inside of my house, and everything inside of that ball can access the internet. Everything outside of that ball, well, it can connect, but it can't connect very well. I can connect this scenario to them learning about the area of circles, volume of spheres, and how both are determined by their radius, the distance from the center of that circle or sphere to any point on its edge. I can physically represent how much square footage of coverage my router, my internet router, gives me inside my house, and what I have to do to determine and improve the coverage on this side of the house. Very real world scenario that connects to a lot of things that they directly study. I want to keep this under 10 minutes, so I hope that it's given you a feeling and flavor for what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. Remember, I'm Coach Derrick Brown, and I teach students, not subjects, and I welcome parent feedback, interaction, and communication via any of these forms so that we can work together to help improve the education outcomes for your child. I thank you for your attention. Take care.